Again, fellow Toastmasters, please stick around for our noon session where we will be re-engaged and given an extra spark by distinguished Toastmaster, former past District Director, Dr. Maurice Fuller. Now, our facilitator, Lisa Kumes, will take the lead as we start our next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Division A Director Andrea Robinson. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters, DTMs, dignitaries, and beloved guests. My name is Lisa Kumes, and I'm serving as your facilitator for panel number 2. Get excited about pathways. Before I give the floor to Toastmaster Linda Eli, I'm excited to read her bio so everyone can learn a little bit about her. Linda has been an accountant for most of her adult life. She has served clients as both a business consultant and a chief financial officer for more than 25 years. She enjoys ballroom dancing, riding horses, and world travel, though not necessarily in that order. Since life has been so generous to her, she spends most of her time in volunteer work and giving back to others. A Toastmaster for just shy of 6 years, Linda has already completed her Visionary Communication Level 4, her Advanced Leadership Bronze, and was Area 41 Director for the 2020-2021 year, as well as successfully competing in the Area Table Topics and Evaluation Contest in prior years. During her travels, she has physically visited Toastmaster clubs as far away as Barcelona, Spain. Wow. Toastmasters is indeed a family, as she's been welcomed and has made new friends on all her visits. This year, Linda is a Pathways trainer for District 47, as one of her passions is teaching. She is also a certified Infinite Possibilities trainer, teaching a curriculum which encourages others to look at life from a different, more empowering perspective. She enjoys the challenge of finding a way to convey the information so that the student develops a good understanding. Linda encourages you to bring your questions to this session so you can reap the most benefits. Also, as your facilitator, I am in charge to be the timer. I will be timing this segment, which is a total of 45 minutes. At 35 minutes, I'm going to show the green. At 40, I'm going to show the yellow. And at 45 minutes, I'm going to show the red, which means it's time to wrap up. Without further ado, you are a wonderful audience for the first panel, and I'm sure you will be a wonderful audience for the second panel. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Linda Eli. You have the floor.
Thank you, Toastmaster Lisa. Good morning, Division A and all the guests that are here as well. So happy to see you this Saturday morning. Are you having a good time? Thumbs up, good. Let's do some virtual thumbs up if you're having a good time as well. And before we get started, in case anybody happens to be in this main room and they're looking for their officer training, perhaps our tech coordinator can list those links in the chat one more time in case anybody has gotten into this room accidentally as the main room instead of the officer training. I'll wait while he does that. But while we're waiting, hasn't this been a fantastic morning so far? Haven't we had some great panels and we had a great keynote speaker to start off with? It has been a fantastic day. Let's give some hearts and thumbs up and congratulations and kudos to all of Division A for their hard work in putting this together. All right. This is going to be an interactive session, so make sure you keep those reaction buttons handy and keep your cameras on. I invite you to do that, just being aware that everybody else can see you at the same time. Let's get this show on the road. All right. I want to share with you a quote from Robin Sharma. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. Let's take a look at each one of those elements. Change is hard at first. All right. How many of you made New Year's resolutions and they're already kaput? I know I have. It's not even the end of the month, and yet many of our New Year's resolutions have already gone out the window. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. Without a compelling reason to change, we tend to stay in the same place that we've always been. So yes, change is hard at first because we have wired in habits. Then we get to that messy in the middle part. Sometimes change needs to be forced by something, a compelling reason. And the coronavirus was one of those compelling reasons for changes. The technology of Zoom had been around since 2013, 7 years prior. Yet nobody was really making that change, or not en masse anyway. And that messy middle, corporations were trying to figure out how to stay in business with workers that couldn't come to work. Finding the technology. Toastmasters clubs were trying to figure out how to stay meeting via technology. And we had enough difficulty just trying to get into meetings half the time, figuring out where to mute and unmute ourselves or turn our camera on and off. That was that messy middle. But we've now become pretty good pros at all of that aspect of things. And then there's that gorgeous at the end. Life is rarely perfect. Yet even with these past 2 years of changes, we now have options. For instance, we can still work from home even if we can't go into the office. Or perhaps now our bosses are much more willing to give us hybrid options so we don't have to commute every day. In short, we may have found the best of both worlds. At the very least, we have the new options. Yet, would we be in this situation if the coronavirus hadn't pushed us here? Probably not. The rollout of pathways presented a similar problem. It was different. You had some early adopters, those people that are always out there for the latest, greatest, newest thing. And they started the path and started learning what was happening with that Pathways program so that the middle of the roaders, the people that were waiting for a little bit of guidance, could then pop in and start working on Pathways. But of course, you always have those late adopters, those people that don't want to change until they're absolutely forced to change. They live by the mantra, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I admit there are times that I follow that mantra as well. Can anyone else relate? All right, I promised this was going to be an interactive presentation, and let's get started on the interactive portion. Tech coordinator, I know that you have a poll to launch. Would you please do me the honor of launching that poll at this time? There will be 3 questions for you to answer. Your answers will be anonymous, but they will help me to guide where we're going in this session. Simple questions, yes, no answers on the first 2. Are you currently enrolled in Pathways? Yes or no? Were you ever enrolled in the Legacy program? I want to see how many people have been here, how long you've been here. And how comfortable are you in using the Pathways program? And 1 is you're not enrolled in Pathways. 2, you're lost completely and have no idea what you're doing. The third one is you're somewhat comfortable, maybe a little bit, and then you could be better. And finally, you're very comfortable. And I know we have 21 people in here, but some of those are duplicated ones, but I would like to get as many answers as possible. 15 people should be answering this poll. If I could get those answers, please. That way I can make the presentation as specific to you as it needs to be, because the whole goal is to provide value to you and get your questions answered. Anyone else going to share their answers? All right. Well, because I don't want to sit here for forever and it doesn't look like anyone else, let's go ahead and wrap up that poll. And if you could share the results, Tech Coordinator, I would appreciate it. All right, as we can see, the people that did answer are enrolled and they were all legacy people as well. Okay, good to know. One of them is completely lost and 2 of them are very comfortable. All right, perfect. This is where you guys are going to go to your chat. I need to know, what is your most challenging aspect of Pathways so that I can tailor this presentation to you. You can stop sharing the poll now. Hello, is anybody here? I don't see anybody putting anything into chat. Please tell me you're here. Put up a sign, thumbs up, something. Okay, so we have some Basecamp issues, all right, as well as for individuals, before and after surveys. Needs to be more user-friendly. Yes, I understand that side of things. Unfortunately, that is not something I have any control over, correcting that, but I'll do my best on terms of that aspect of things. All right. Well, let's start with that then. Let me share my screen again, because we will not need too much more of what's going on. Pathways, for better or worse, is the education portion of Toastmasters. Yes, it's different. It's different than the legacy program, which had its own communication competencies and leadership competencies. Pathways as well is divided up into different tracks that follow the communication side or the leadership side. For instance, why am I not getting this? Whoops, hold on. Technical issue. Why are we not? There we go. Communication competencies are public speaking, of course, interpersonal communication. Then you have some of your paths which lead towards leadership competencies of strategic leadership or management. But all of these paths build confidence. That is part of all of the paths that, as you work through each one, you become confident in different competencies. There are 11 paths to choose from. So there's one that's perfect for you. And what's very interesting about these paths compared to what we had in the past is, in the past, you had those core elements that maybe weren't applicable to you. Maybe you didn't really need to do a lot of presentations via, you weren't going to be a keynote speaker. The presentations weren't going to be there. So you might just want to be more into storytelling and engaging humor. Maybe you want to be a coach and know that interpersonal side of communication. These paths are more geared towards your core area that you want to use your competencies in, with still having that broad-based leadership and its leadership aspect to it, as well as some electives that you can take to get those options set for you. Sorry about that. My tongue this morning is deciding to be quite out of its own thing. All right, so I see we do have some Basecamp aspects of things. We will talk about that as well. So let me go here and let me do this and share my other screen so that we can get started. Okay. As you get into Pathways itself, And I need to move this so that I can get to. There's a couple of ways, obviously, to get into pathways. Most people can go here. You can also come up here to your name, which is kind of an interesting place if you've not explored it. You can find some interesting, all right, why are you not, there we go. You can find some interesting things on here, just if you've not explored it, in that you've got your member number and things like that that are available to you. When you log into your pathways, I'm going to start as a participant. And especially for VPEs, which most of which I know are not here, they're in their training session. But this is an area that the VPE can help the individual member with. The speech evaluations, if you're looking for a quick access to a speech evaluation, you can find them right here under speech evaluations. There are some tutorials about it. That's fine. I believe everybody has said that they were already enrolled in Pathways. If you have not enrolled in Pathways, there is a quiz that you can take that will make suggestions based on your answers, but you are always free to choose from any of those 11 paths. So I will go to my paths in learning because this is my curriculum. And we will just check out the new pathways. Level 1 is the same across all of them. Now, we did just get an updated level 1 in November, I believe it was. It might have been October that it rolled out, but I believe it was in November. And it had a slightly different flavor from the old level 1s. But all the level 1s are now exactly the same. You start with an icebreaker. Then they're writing a speech with purpose, because if you're not having a purpose for why you're giving the speech, what's the point of speaking? Introduction to vocal variety and body language to make things interesting. And then, of course, evaluation and feedback, because it is an important skill and it's one of the best parts of the Toastmasters program is the evaluations that you get where you understand how what you're saying landed to the other people and what landed, what didn't land, and how you could improve that. All of the programs will first off, you will have to activate them. Once you activate that particular project in the level, it will go to launch. And then you will launch that program. And here's a tip for those of you who do not want to. I'm going to check my other computer so I can see the chat on that too. Yes, okay, super. As we wait for Toastmasters to spin their wheel, and we will start with back at getting started. You know, on the first couple of projects, it will tell you some extra things, directions you've got to close out of. But you go through your introduction. Again, these are all brand new. You click anything you see that can be clicked, you click it. That's where you find your basic information that you need. And I've got to move this over here so that I can go through and find my. And you move through the session. Now, the two things that you absolutely positively, no questions asked, have to do are the beginning skill assessment. And as I'm going through, there's a project checklist, which will show you different things that you will have to do to the project itself. That is also included in the project path. So I will show you a place down the road for those of you who don't want to be on your computer and you prefer old school, you prefer the legacy program in that it was all written. Not everybody's all written anymore. Videos are important to engage people. Not everybody learns from a visual, you know, a reading format as opposed to a hearing format or a kinesthetic format. Hence the reason Toastmaster has added that variety into the Pathways program. But the things that you absolutely have to do, assess your skills before. And it doesn't matter if you feel relaxed, you're absolutely not relaxed. It doesn't matter if you're a 1 or if, yeah, you're very relaxed giving a speech. This is only for you It is for you so that you can see at the end of the project, did you improve? It is your own self-assessment. But in order for you to submit your project for completion, you have to do the skills beforehand. And then at the end of it, you also will have to do it again. So we've gone through, you've given all of your questions here. You see there's several of them here. And then you can move on to the curriculum itself. It tells you what the competencies that you will learn in this particular project. Again, there's little things to click that tell you what to do through it. We don't need to go through all of that because you guys can do it. There are videos that, again, make life a little bit more interesting. I encourage you to watch the videos. I will tell you that there is not an option to bypass or substitute the icebreaker after you complete your first path. You still have to go through your level 1, which is another icebreaker. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take an icebreaker to a deeper level the second time that you do it. But and you've learned skills now. So your second icebreaker, again, the skill of speaking in a very short period of time is much harder than the skill of speaking for a much longer period of time. So challenge yourself, give an icebreaker on something that's challenging and make it 4 to 6 instead of 5 to 7. As you go through your different things here, thank you for that excellent question. Again, make sure you click all of these to get all of the information going on in the curriculum itself. Clicking through all of the, again, on the first session or two, it tells you what you need to do to make sure that you remember that you've got to click all of these to get the different information. What to expect, prepare, and present. Again, I'm just going forward. You will go through all of this as you go through that, but there is a slide I specifically want to show you. And that is, as you get to the point of giving your speech. On this page, which is very near the bottom, as you can see here, you can move between different sections. You are down here right now at evaluation and resources. If you want to print it out because you don't want to look at your computer screen, all you have to do is print the project right here. You can do it project by project if you prefer to read it on paper. Some people do. But that way you can get it without having to do it. You can do the entire thing offline as long as you do your pre-assessment skills, give your project, your evaluation resources here. The nice thing is it tells you what you're looking for in this particular evaluation. But once you are done, here's a big problem that a lot of people have. Once they're done, they think they've given their speech, they've gotten their evaluation, they're done. You aren't done. There's a little arrow here says you got one more thing to do. And at this point, it's the piece that's important is the complete assess your skills after. Because if you don't do the before and the after, you cannot complete your project. So again, it's the same questions that you had in the beginning. And I believe, because again, we haven't complete, hang on. Yes, so we're getting it. So it's telling you what it is. Then you click the arrow, you will get there. Feel relaxed. It's the same questions you had in the beginning. And at the end of it, when you've got to the last question, you click next and hit submit. It will then tell you, here's where you were in the beginning. Here's where you are now. And you can see what areas you improved on and what areas you may still need work with. But that is an essential part to completing your project. Once you've done it, and see, I'm not getting the move on because of the fact I didn't assess my skills. You will get eventually a congratulations screen, and I will show you that in another path that I have so that you see what that looks like. I will go back to not engaging humor, because that's my brand new path that I've decided to choose on, because that's That's a struggle for me. I can be humorous at different times, but not all the time. So let's go down here to this one, visionary communication. And in level 1, when I completed my icebreaker, and I did that final assessment of my skills, this was my first path. So I'll even let you take a peek at what I thought on my assessment. Okay, so we'll get here down to assess your skills after. Before I was a 3. Okay, so my first project, I didn't feel so common afterwards. All right, I understood. I improved on aware of my strengths. I improved greatly on where I needed to improve my communication skills. So this is the nice thing. And the unfortunate thing is it does not allow you to get to all the questions. That is something I don't know how to fix. It may just be that I'm using a Firefox browser. So if you do have little tweaks like that, you may try using Chrome or Microsoft Edge or a different browser to see if you get those. But I have never been able to get to the bottom of these, and it's probably because I'm using Firefox. But once those are completed, congratulations. If you don't see this page, you will never get the check mark that was there for that project to be complete. And without the check marks, you can't submit your completion for your level 1. Okay, thank you, Andrea, for saying that Chrome is much better for pathways. And that is true about any computer program. There are certain browsers that it works better with. So there you go. And all right, I see there's a question that I missed. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yes, so the question is, if you're in 2 or more clubs, does the member decide which club gets the credit? And that is absolutely true. It is up to the Vice President of Education to be aware of their dual members and ask that member, is this going to our club or is this going to your other club before they submit for that completion? Either club can approve the fact that they completed the level, but getting the DCP point, which is a base camp manager aspect, has to be taken into consideration with the member if they're a dual member, and have that person, then take that club to the one that they want to give credit to.
I can't believe I did that to myself. That's just the stupidest thing I could have ever done just then. I mean, I don't know if it possessed me to do that, to pig out like that. I just don't know if it possessed me to do that.
Sheila, do you know you're unmuted? Okay. All right, at this point, is there any questions to what we've done so far? Because this is the basics of pathways. You are now able, let me just add one more thing before I finish with potential questions. In the very beginning, you couldn't get past the level 1 until you completed everything. Now they do let you look at all the different levels. And in level 3 and level 4 and level 5, you will start finding your electives. Don't hesitate to look forward, even though you might only be in level 1 or level 2, because you may find something that you're working on, like putting on a TLI, Andrea Robinson. You may find that it fits into an elective project at a higher level than what you are working on in Toastmasters at the moment. So your elective projects, again, it will tell you minimum required 2. You can happy to go through and enter more if you want to, but you can pick and choose what areas are most relevant to what you want to do with your life, what skills you want to learn. Level 4 has the same thing. There is always a requirement, and then there's an elective. Most of the electives are relatively similar, but they will occasionally change because of what the requirement is for the level. So for instance, there may be a manage online meetings may be a requirement in one of the paths as a level 4, so it wouldn't be an elective, and there would be a different elective in there. Same thing with level 5, elective projects. Look ahead, see what's coming up. There are things that you may be able to do, like a high performance leadership. And there are areas I know that we do give that for area and division contests. Can qualify if you're a contest chair for you can qualify for a high performance leadership in District 47. So take the opportunity. You don't always get it. Okay. Yeah, this is an HPL, Andrea, correct. It is. All right. Are there any questions on that basic aspect of things? I have two computers, so if I'm looking this way, it's easier to see the chat in the second computer. Okay. Let's do, would it be beneficial, and again, put in the chat, please, would it be beneficial to you to understand base camp management? Yes or no? I have one yes, okay. Any other yeses? I know there was a few yeses, okay. All right, let me go back here then. Let me get back to Toastmasters itself. And we will log in as a base camp manager. So what is a base camp manager? A base camp manager is an assignment to 3 of the club officers. It is assigned, the general first responsibility goes to the vice president of education with backup from the president and the secretary. Because the vice president of education is the person who is supposed to understand where you are in your different trainings, that's why it is their first responsibility. Their responsibility to know who their dual members are. But since I am a base camp manager for Treasure Coast, I can log in as base camp manager. To do that, it's the same login, check the box, go to base camp manager. All right, now I know several of you said that you had come from the legacy program. And if you remember, in the legacy program, we had 2 parts for recognition. When a member completed their icebreaker, you had the back of the book and the VPE went in and you signed the back of the book. That is akin right now to somebody completing level 1 and you're coming in here checking your pending requests. You've got a note that so-and-so has completed their level 1. If you have anybody who is looking for a completion certificate, it will show up. Their name will be here. And it will also have a check mark or an X here. The check mark would be, okay, you verified that yes, they have done the required things. They've completed the speeches. As we get into level 3, there are leadership options that have to be done before somebody gets completion for level 3. Those, you know, they have to be a Toastmaster, a table topics master, general evaluator. Those have to be completed as well. So as Vice President of Education, you have verified that the person has in fact completed the training. So there's a check mark or an X. You would click the check mark. It will take you to a submit button. You would then submit it. That is akin to signing the back of the book. But because we're not doing it for each project now, you know, whereas we had using vocal variety, we had icebreaker, we had evaluation, we had all of those different projects in the competent communicator, and you signed the back as each one was done. This one is for a level, and a level contains multiple projects. So for the club now to get credit for that level to be completed, they have to go into Club Central, which is under Leadership Central, and it is not in Base Camp Manager. Leadership Central, Club Central, Submit Education Awards. So this is the same as when you finished your CC in completion, and then you would send it off to Toastmasters to get credit for the CC. This is the same process. This is where you get credit for the club that somebody has completed their level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it happens to be. When you hit submit education awards, there are a couple of things that you need to know. First, if somebody is a dual member and they're signed into their other club, they will not show up under the members. They have to be signed into the club that they want credit from for that to happen, for the credit to happen for the club. Second, a VPE cannot send in for themselves. A president cannot send in for themselves. A secretary cannot send in for themselves, because that's the dual aspect of having people, accountability with other people. So I won't find my name here because I'm a VPE, so I can't do anything with that. The other thing that's interesting, as you will notice next to each person's name, you will see where they are with their status. And so the last thing, for instance, that Jonathan Knaus was credited for was his advanced communicator bronze and his advanced level, or leadership bronze, sorry. Kathy Frazier is a DTM, that will stay there at all times. But Julie Shriebot is in visionary communication too. She has completed that path. Linda Childress has completed presentation mastery too, and so on and so on. This is a way for you to see if somebody may have actually finished a level 3 or a level 4, but they haven't gotten club credit for it. At this point, we'll just pick somebody and we'll pick Angie Bailey. She is in presentation mastery, but we know she hasn't yet completed her level 1. But if she had, we would be able to then check on presentation mastery level 1 and get the DCP credit for that particular presentation. Okay. That is the main issue with Basecamp, is the fact that you have to do 2 different steps. You have to approve it for the member in Basecamp Manager. You then have to approve it for the club in Leadership Central. Okay, since we're getting close to the end of time and I want to make sure everybody's individual questions get answered, it is an interactive. Where is everybody? Do you have a list of different education awards that we can achieve? Antonio, will you come on please and give me a little bit more information, what you're looking for on that? Antonio?
Yes, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, yes.
Question, a DTM is an educational award, but I saw different letters and I don't know if we can have different levels in different educational awards.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. So the ALB and the ACB that you saw were part of the legacy program. The DTM still exists, that stands for Distinguished Toastmaster. You have to complete 2 paths and do a DTM project, as well as some other requirements in order to get your DTM. But the Advanced Communicator Bronze, there were several different ones, bronze, silver, gold, the Advanced Leadership Bronze, silver, gold. Those are no longer applicable to the Pathways program. But the interesting thing about that is Pathways has incorporated in their levels 1 through 5 much of the material that was in those advanced communicator projects and advanced leadership projects. You no longer have to choose another path, another book to get, that you had to go through 5 or 10 speeches in that book in order to get your next level. It's all included in your Pathways projects. What other questions do I have that I can answer? Where are you lost? How can I help you? That's what I'm here for, value.
Linda, this is Lisa. I have
Hi,
a
Lisa.
question.
Yes.
I'm in level 5 for one of my paths, and there's like a 20-minute speech. Is it possible to still get credit if like I would break it into 2 10-minute speeches, or does it have to be 20 minutes?
All right, that's a great question. The reason that it would be a 20-minute speech would be the fact that there's a different skill set that's involved to give a longer speech. Keeping an audience engaged for 10 minutes is very different than keeping an audience engaged for 20 minutes. So I would recommend that you don't do it that way. I would recommend that you find an area, and it can be outside of Toastmasters as long as it can either be recorded or you can have another club member there to evaluate you. It could be something that you do outside of Toastmasters. Sometimes that presents opportunities either at work or in other organizations that we're in to give those longer speeches. And that may be a way of doing it. If it's recorded, the the evaluator can then view the recording and do the evaluation off the recording. But I would not recommend that you would get benefit out of doing that in 2 10-minute segments. There's one other project that's an elective project as well, managing a difficult audience. And when I was area director, I ended up as an evaluator for somebody who was doing that particular project. The problem is they didn't have any difficult audience members. And my recommendation to them was to redo the project because of the fact they didn't get the skills that they would need in order to truly gain the knowledge that they were looking for.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate it. I see it now in that perspective, and it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, what other questions? Don't be shy, interactive here. Do I have to volunteer people to ask questions? I'm an expert at that as a VPE, of volunteering people to do different things.
Linda, please do. Thank you.
Please volunteer people.
Yes.
All right, Peter, I see you on camera. What can I answer for you, Peter?
I don't really have a particular question right this second. I'm sitting in on it because I do come out of the legacy program.
Okay.
And I have not embarked into pathways just because of a myriad of medical issues in the past 2 years. So I'm attending so I can take a look at it and finally open one of those pathways and start moving.
Okay.
I'm taking it all in. So.
Okay. So perhaps it would be helpful for you then to see how to actually choose what path you want to take. Would that be helpful to you?
All of it is helpful to me right this second.
All right,
go
so
for
let's do that then. When we go into pathways, go to Basecamp, or actually where it says choose a path, sorry, choose a path. And it will tell you, continue to path selection. And it will ask you, do you want your stuff printed, which is a $25 additional fee, or you can do the little hack that I told you about going in on that one and printing it out for yourself. So I would recommend you select digital resources, because the value of that is you can take it with you on your iPad. You don't have to drag a computer. You don't have to drag a stack of books. You can take it with you on your iPad. All right, so we will say select digital resources, and then it will ask you, do you want to take the assessment, or do you want to just look at all the paths there and choose your own? If you take the assessment, you always have the option to choose any of the other paths, but based on what your goals are, it will recommend 2 paths to you, 2 to 3 paths to you. So I highly recommend that you take the assessment. It takes about 10 minutes or so. They're very simple questions. And it asks first one, what question? And then what 3 topics are you most interested in learning about? And they're all very multiple choice questions, just like this, going through it. Again, it takes about 10 minutes to complete, but it's pretty spot on giving you the best paths that would be available for you. So that's how I would start. And since we are getting towards the end, I will also share in the chat, if I can share. I can't screen share and chat too at the same time. I will share in the chat some information from Toastmasters as well as my contact information as a Pathways trainer. Hold on one second while I get that posted in here. And you are welcome to reach out to me with any questions that you have in any way that I can help you, whether it's base camp management, whether it's with Pathways itself. All right, Antonio, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't have questions right now. I think in the future, in a short-term future, I'll have questions because I am in level 4 and I'm doing the project for level 4 and level 5.
Okay.
But yes, your contact will be very useful.
Okay, super, super. And I see Isabel has put a question in the chat. She took the assessment a while ago. Where do you find the results? The results come up right at the end of your assessment. So if you did not keep those results handy, you are going to have to redo the assessment. I'm sorry to say. I see at this point we are at time. I want to thank everybody for their attendance here. I hope this was valuable, and I am looking forward to getting reignited with our former district director, Maurice Robinson, in the keynote that is coming up just shortly. At this point, let me turn the lectern back over, the virtual lectern, to my facilitator, Lisa Kuhnes.
Thank you so much. Let's give Linda a round of applause, or in the reaction button, let's give her some hearts and claps and prayer hands. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Linda, for your information, for your session, and for your time. We appreciate your expertise and tools that you have given us today to get excited about Pathways. And for everyone in the audience, we all grow from our feedback. I posted a link down in the chat below. It's an evaluation link. It's valid for 24 hours. Please, let's give Linda some wonderful feedback. And thank you for doing a wonderful job today, Linda. Thank you for having me as your facilitator for panel number 2. I give back the virtual room to our wonderful Madam Division A Director, Andrea Robinson.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Linda. You ladies have done a fantastic job. I am grateful to both of you for being on this journey with me. Thank you very much. And audience, please, Lisa just posted the link to this session. Please complete it. We take your comments and thoughts very seriously. We want to know your thoughts about our presenters, all of them, and keynote speakers, because this only helps us to improve what it is that we're doing. And our main focus is to provide the best to you. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Linda. I am grateful, extremely grateful for both of you. We have about 12 minutes before our next panel start. Mr. Zoom coordinator, if you could play some great music. If you need an audience, if you need to take a break, bathroom break, or stretch, this is your chance to do it. Thank you very much. You all are very appreciated. Thank you. An audience, as our officers come, the members who went to the officers training come in, please let them know just what they missed out on this wonderful session with Linda Eli on Pathways. I learned some things that I didn't know. But this also will be archived on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to view this again, all of the sessions. are being recorded and will be available later. Thank you.